Hello, everyone. Hello, LinkedIn. Welcome back to another Tribal Impact LinkedIn Live session. And I'm really excited. Oh, I say that every time, but I am for this particular session. Anyone who has spoken to me in the last few months or has had a meeting with me or even met me in person, you will have seen me recommend this book over and over again. And mine's a bit of a tatty version. But I was lucky enough to reach out to Michael, who is our guest today, who authored the book. And I just said, this is a great book. And then actually we've met in person. And then I just thought, right, it would be great to invite you onto a LinkedIn Live and talk about this because it's one of the most impactful books I have ever read in maybe my career, actually, around leadership and transformation. And today's session is all about how you can unlock your leadership potential. We will talk about elements of the book, but for me, this is fascinating because we're asking people to become brands in their own right. And unless they truly understand themselves and understand who they are as a leader, it's going to be a struggle. So I am delighted to invite Michael Anderson, and it is our Michael Anderson, but you can explain that, Michael. So welcome to our LinkedIn Live series, and say hi in the chat, in the comments, guys. Anybody who's here, tell me where you're dialing in from and watching from. So Michael, do you want to just give us a bit of an intro, who you are, where you are?
I will, Sarah, absolutely. But as you were speaking, something came up, and I always like to talk about present things. As you were saying that, I felt it was such a compliment when people have that response to the book. And part of me wants to be like, oh, it's no big deal. It's not, and like shun away from that. But the fact is, that's why I wrote the book, is to help people. And it's interesting because I think for leadership, we have to step into our power. And you work with brands, and brands have to step into their power as well. And I think part of leadership is really understanding that we take on this massive responsibility and we really affect change, and it's okay to own that. And people want to be led. Your team wants you to give them the purpose and the vision and the direction. And so we have to accept that responsibility, and it's okay that we have that power. So it's okay to be powerful. It's okay to help people. That's really what it's about. So anyway, that's really what went through my mind right as you were giving me such a great introduction, Sarah.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. And you're not too far away from me, are you? So we've got some people. Hi, Donna. Donna's behind the scenes today. Ryan's on holiday. And Jay, hello, Jay from North Wales. Good to see you. So thank you. Put your comments in there. And while we're going through today, I mean, those on the podcast can't do this, but those that are joining live, you have a great opportunity to ask Michael questions here. So as we go through, but you're not too far away from me, actually, are you, Michael? You have an American accent, but you're based in the UK.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not Scottish. This isn't an Edinburgh accent. I'm a Yank. No questions about U.S. politics. That's the only thing off limits.
Yeah.
But and I live in Hazelmere near Guildford in Surrey, and just up the road from Sarah. And I married a lovely, amazing British woman about 6-7 years ago. So I've been here. I've been here 6 years, just in time for pandemic and everything.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's get started on the book. And I have a list of questions, but I'm open to ask questions from people if you've read the book or not read the book or curious about it. And I attended one of your training sessions that you deliver free some periods, don't you? And I did that last night. And it reminded me actually of the leadership framework. So I went to the back of my book. And honestly, I'm not getting paid for this. This is not commission. I just genuinely really love this book. But do you want to just talk about what inspired you to develop this model, the leadership framework model that you have in the book, and how has it sort of evolved over the last sort of 10 years or so?
Yeah, absolutely. And my short story is that I was a programmer, and then I founded my first software company, and we had a lot of success very quickly. Next thing you know, I have an office. I have to deal with lawyers, real estate people, bankers, all these different things you have to do. And I had a proper team and an office, et cetera. We had so much success quickly that I was on the front page of the newspaper. And here's me in my mid 30s, just like couple months ago, I was a programmer, and all of a sudden I have to deal with all this. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready emotionally for it. I wasn't ready mentally for it. I didn't have any coaches or mentors. It was just me. And it was so difficult. And the funny thing is we were successful. We were making money. We were making profit. We were growing. But that was externally, but internally, I felt like a massive fraud. I was going through massive anxiety. I'd go in and out of depressions. I had substance abuse issues. It was just, and everything was getting worse, not better. And I'm like, look, I got to sort this out. And I have long dramatic story that has to do with divorce, business partner assaulting me, lawsuits, restraining orders. But we don't have time now, so you got to wait for the Netflix special or go on YouTube. It's all on YouTube. Um, and I was like, man, I gotta sort my life out. And I also got to sort this leadership thing out. Because at one point, Sarah, I was even like, am I even cut out to be a leader? It's
Mm.
like when I was a programmer, I made good money. I knew, life was easy. I knew how to do it well, etc. But then I'm like, you know what? I always wanted to be a leader and be a business owner. So it's like I'm gonna figure out what it's going to take to do this. And right around then, I joined a group of entrepreneurs, and two of them just had a calmness about them. And up until then, I've achieved a lot, but calmness was never something, and peace was never something that I ever had for myself. And I found they both went through this really unique course, and it was a master's degree in spiritual psychology. So nothing to do with religion, but just a very compassionate. We learned psychosynthesis, NLP, Gestalt, all these different psychoanalysis techniques. But we learned it from a place of pure compassion. And as I went through that master's program, I learned so much about me and so much about other people, what drives other people from this positive, compassionate way that my leadership really started to come into its own. And basically, this is a long answer to your nice short question. Um, but the when I started applying what I learned there to myself and to my leadership, we really started to have more success. We were voted the number one best place to work. We were on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies a couple of years in a row, and I won Social Entrepreneur of the Year. That was externally, but internally, for the first time in my life, I was finally having fun as a leader. I was creating great value. We were creating great value for our clients. We had an amazing culture. I was watching my people grow as people. And we were giving back to the community, which I think we all wanted to do. We all want to do as leaders. We just sometimes get stuck because we don't have the tools and skills. So that's how I got there. And then over the last maybe 12 years, um, well, what happened then is a couple of the business owners saw the changes in me and the changes in my company, and they're like, "Mike, what are you doing over there?" So I started like coaching them before I even knew what coaching was. And then I'm like, "Hey, I like this." And I was like, after 22 years in accounting software, I'm like, it might be time for something new. And I know what you're thinking when you mix accounting and software, there's nothing more sexy in the world, but but then I'm like, I'm going to teach other leaders because Sarah, I mean, it's so cool that you got that out of the book. But I read some of these and it's like so simple. But I'm like, why didn't somebody teach me this when I was like 30 or 20 or 12 or something? Because it helps me so much relating to myself and other people.
Yeah. But the journey I've got to do some shout outs here because we've got some new people come on. So Dave, hello, Dave Perry from Montreal. He's here. Christy Lake, hello from London-ish. You're enjoying reading the leadership book. Okay, a few chapters in and it's already been transformative. Yeah, especially ARC. Oh, Christy, we're going to talk about that because that's very good. Tom from St. Albans, welcome. So it's great, fantastic. Oh, they're all having a chat with each other. So, right, coming back to this. So, one thing I want to mention, though, because you and I have been in business leadership roles, but one thing that really came across for me in the book is this is about you as a person, whether you manage people, or it's about you leading yourself. You say quite often, and I've already gone off the question, so I'm sorry, Donna, but you say over and over again, your leadership style is a reflection of the relationship with yourself. I don't know how many times you put that in the book, but I remember keep seeing it almost every other chapter. This is not for people managers. This is for people who want to become, well, it is for people managers, but it's more for, I felt it was more about who you are and want to develop, to be and evolve. And that can be everyone, whether you're a business owner, a team leader, right? Or,
Absolutely. I call it, I call what I teach growth leadership. Like Leadership Mindset 2.0 is the name of the book, but what I teach is growth leadership. And I teach you how to grow in your leadership as you grow as a person. So there you could say it's almost like personal development. And because and that's the growth leadership system is the name of the system. So it's all about you growing yourself so you can grow the people around you so that you can be like a role model, and you can model what you want from other people, and also you can get the best out of other people in service to their growth, and know how to do that and unlock the potential in your team. And so to me, everything is about growth, growing yourself, growing your team, growing your, I'm also a business person. I like growing revenue and profit. So, it's like, I'm a competitor. I like doing that stuff. I'm not going to mess around and say I don't. Like, that's fun too for me. But let's do it by, providing great service and providing a great culture. And let's do it from a positive place, not a place of negativity or anything.
Yeah. But you said that in the training session last night, actually, you recognized that actually it was you that needed to change. Actually, it was the way you were. Yeah. And that I think is probably one of the most enlightening things I have from the book, which is actually it starts with me and inside. And you say teaching, but you actually get us to do exercises throughout the book, like introspection, really thinking about who we are, limiting beliefs, background. So I just think the journey you take people on is really good. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to say this, Christy, because you picked up ARC. Just for everyone else that's listening, watching, I'm not going to make you wait. Do you want to just give us a summary, Michael, about what that is?
Sure, let me talk about ARC. Let me talk about ARC, but if I could just, because we talk about relationship with self. So can I just really quick say something about that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
If people ask me what the biggest what the biggest needle mover was in my leadership journey of the stuff that I learned, I didn't truly know who I was. I know who, in a way, I wanted to be. And in a way, I was trying to be somebody that I thought Sarah wanted me to be, my team wanted me to be. There was an insecurity within me, and I really wanted to be liked. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be respected. And I realized through some reflective work, and this is, again, what I teach, and people that go through the book in my courses get this, that our ego often can have us try to be somebody that we aren't truly are, so that we are liked and accepted and things. And there's past programming and all this other stuff. But when we do the work, we understand who we are and we bring that out. And people talk about authenticity and vulnerability, but you can't, authenticity and vulnerability are really crucial in leadership, but you shouldn't tell people to be more authentic and vulnerable. That's like going to your friend and be like, hey, be more funny, be more handsome. It's like a result of something else. And the more you can know who you are, then the more authentic you are automatically, and the more truly healthily vulnerable you are. So it's really about truly getting to know who you are and your values and be like, look, this is who I am. And, if you're not cool with that, don't be on my team or don't hire me or don't whatever. But it's so refreshing when people are like, look, this is who I am and what I believe in. And then you're gonna get in the right positions. You're going to attract the right people. You're going to be able to lead from that authentic place. But you can't do that until you have a knowledge of who you are and who you aren't.
And I've just written that down actually about the authenticity, because for me, this is where the connection is with advocacy and activating your expert voice. And you can, I'm going to make it very practical, right? If you're posting on LinkedIn and you're doing what you think everybody wants to, do you know where I'm going with this, right? You're posting stuff that you think everybody wants to see, not what you genuinely find interesting and why, but actually because you think that's what others are doing. That's what you think you should do. You're not doing it for the right reasons. And when you just said about, you start to attract the right people, you see there's something in your vibe attracts your tribe. And if you stick to who you are, and you can't do that necessarily unless you understand who you are, then you're not going to attract your tribe. And I think when we go into training and talking to people about building their expert professional brand on LinkedIn, and it can be the most senior executives, really it can, to even engineers and, you know, experts, they don't quite know who they are. So this piece of work is so critical to being authentic online, I believe. I think for me, that's why I'm so fascinated on a different level. So
Yeah, you know, with brands, whether it's personal or company, right? If you try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody.
mm-hmm.
And if you try
Yep.
to do what everybody else is doing, you're not going to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah,
I see
absolutely.
I see so many people like that. The LinkedIn post that did best over this last 12 months when I posted a picture of me and my daughter or something like that. You know, it's because they're connecting with you as a person rather than, you know, the 4 lessons I learned about B2B sales or whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they do so well, because they're relatable. There's quite a little conversation going on here. We will come back to the ARC thing. So, Christy, oh, you're all talking about Canada. Okay, don't worry. Don't worry about that. But it sounds like it sounds like Dave's going to download the book. I think tip, yes, download it, but buy it, because if you're anything like me, you'll be scribbling all through and taking notes, because there's lots of activities. That would be the thing. Can we just talk about the ARC framework? Just so
Yeah. So there's 2 really simple fundamental things that I teach. One of them is the ARC process, and it's super simple. It's ARC is for awareness, response, compassion. Awareness, response, compassion. And you can apply this to anything that comes into your field of view, I say, for leaders. A is the awareness. So normally when things come to us as leaders, we're getting the symptom of the problem. It's like, hey, we just lost a customer, or you know, there's a problem with the customer. And look, you do have to address the symptoms, but what you really need to do is address the actual problem. You know, somebody comes to a doctor, hey, my elbow hurts. You can put a Band-Aid, a plaster over it, but why does it hurt, right? Is there a problem with the bone? Is it a, you know, right? So as leaders, sometimes we can get caught into only just fixing all the symptoms, and that's a very tactical solution, not a strategic solution. And you get awareness by slowing down. Nobody ever gets more awareness by scrolling Facebook, going fast, or whatever that is. So anything that comes into your mind, into your field of view, when it comes in as a leader, you want to say, okay, well, what's the problem I'm really trying to solve here? That's a great question to ask. So, you know, it might be that you're potentially going to lose a customer, but and you want to address that, but it's like, why do we potentially lose it? How are we make sure we're not losing any other customers like this? You know, somebody absences are up in our team. Why is that? Is there a problem with our culture? A problem with something else, right? So A is the awareness, and then R is response. So you have a reaction and a response. And when something happens, we can have an emotional reaction, which is okay. We're human. It's not bad to have emotions. But if something happens and I get, for example, angry or frustrated, again, which is okay to do, that doesn't help me solve the problem. A response is what you choose. So when something comes in, you're like, okay, this is a problem, but what's the best thing I can do as a leader here? I want to take a breath and choose a response instead of flying off with my emotions, because you're in an emotional place. You're not in a good place to make decisions. You want to be a response. You want to take that breath and say, hey, what's a smart leadership thing for me to do to solve this? So it's awareness and response. And then C is compassion. And look, it's compassion for other people, but it's really compassion for ourselves. Because I don't know about you, Sarah, but nobody is ever as hard on me as I am on myself. And as leaders, almost all of us are in leadership because we're perfectionists, because we have these massive expectations. But as leaders, we have to deal with so much change and so much risk that it's really about, and this is about relationship with ourselves, to give ourselves a break. If things aren't perfect, just relax. Chances are we're working hard enough, we're hard enough on ourselves. Just give yourself a little bit of a break. So that's the ARC system: awareness, response, compassion.
It's so funny though, because in our organization, those that quite a few of us have read the book now, and we'll quite often say, are you reacting or are you responding? Do you need to take a pause? It's like, Yes. Okay. Oh, and I can see Dave, he's going to buy both, but don't tell your better half. That's all right, Dave. This is being recorded, uploaded to our podcast. No worries. So, Michael, you've worked with lots of big organizations like Microsoft, Uber, Siemens. Do you see sort of common traits in leadership? Do you see in high performing leaders that you notice?
Yeah, especially long-term high-performing leaders. Because leadership can be a bit situational, a bit market-driven, but the people that really have a loyal team. And what I love hearing is when a leader goes from one organization to another and some people follow them.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
what's a better way to say that I trust you and you respect me than to follow a leader here and there, from one place to another. And the leaders that I see that are amazing have a confidence about them. And let me explain that, because I get a lot of people, especially Europeans, especially English, saying, "Well, I don't want to be arrogant." I'm like, hold on, time out, English people. Arrogance and confidence are two totally different things. In fact, you have like shyness, confidence, and arrogance. And shyness and arrogance are both born out of insecurity. If you're shy, you're trying to hide, right? But if you're arrogant, what it is you don't truly trust yourself. So you go on the offensive so you don't ever have to be on the defensive. That's what arrogance is. You don't truly believe it yourself. So you got to tell other people. But in the middle, there's this beautiful place, the confidence. And everybody out there, if you're listening to this or watching this, think of a leader that you really respect. Now, and it could be business, sports, politics, whatever. They have a confidence about themselves, because there's never been an insecure leader and people are like, I want to follow that person. People are drawn to confidence, and confidence is sometimes being the most quiet person in the meeting, but saying that one really powerful thing that everybody's like, wow, that's exactly right. And it's about having that quiet power, oftentimes, that confidence. And the confidence, this is the key thing. The confidence isn't that you know it all. It's the confidence that whatever you and the team take on, you're going to figure out how to get there. People always want to buy into hope. People always want to buy into hope. And when you're a leader and you're not giving people the hope, some people are like, how do you manage through a crisis? You got to show them the path to hope. You got to show them the path out. How do you lead through these different places? Nobody ever wants to join a losing team. Nobody ever wants to join the football team that's going to be at the bottom of the table. There's no excitement in that. Everybody wants to work for a winning team. And even if they're not winning right now, you have to show them, hey, with this hard work, this is where we're getting. We're going to be here in 6 months or a year. That's what people. And it's the confidence also. And then the confidence also comes from having the confidence in other people. I've had my bosses, and this is the boss I want to be. It's like I see more in some people that work for me than they see in themselves. And I give them the confidence. I sometimes challenge them. I sometimes make them uncomfortable because I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. And then when we work together, they achieve more than they ever thought possible. And then that's where that loyalty comes from. It's like, hey, you believed in me, Mike. You gave me the chance. I screwed this up. You pushed me to keep going. And now I'm a better person. I know myself more. I have more confidence. And that's where you really get this amazing loyalty at.
I was going to try and find it in the book, but there is a graph that you put in there which shows that arrogance, shyness, and the confidence, isn't there? It's towards the start of the book, which is really good. But actually, that point that you're just referring to there around allowing people to grow, from a team leader and a people management perspective, that's a tricky space, right? Is when to step back and to trust and empower the team, which is what you're talking about there, because that's when they're having their biggest growth opportunity, is when you're out the way. And we had this conversation, didn't we, at the end of July? Because just before I decided to step back in August, and you're like, okay, let the team will not just survive, they'll thrive. And they did. And it's getting out the way. I can't remember what your chapter was, but it's something about getting out of the way and letting your team take over. So, well, not take over, but thrive. So yeah.
People are amazing and people are resilient. And it's interesting because when there's a small company that's like 2, 3, 4 people, employee number 2, 3, and 4 are always amazing. And then they grow to 50 or 100 people. But it's interesting, why are employee number 2, 3, and 4 really, really great? Because they have to do everything. And so when you make it too easy for your team, they get, it's a natural thing, but it's like they get lazy. If I can go, why should I figure this out? I'm just going to go to Sarah. Oh, we have a difficult customer. I'm just going to say, Sarah, can you take care of this? It's too difficult. And you're like, no, you take care of it. And they're like, oh, okay. And then, but you can't expect perfection from them. That's where you got to be the coach as a leader. You could say, look, you're going to have this conversation. Let's arm you with what you need to do it. How do you think you should have this conversation? Then they tell you, and then you in a way, you want to set them up to succeed, but you want them to, just like a kid, right? You just want them to learn it on their own. You don't want to be a helicopter parent. It's interesting. It's like a helicopter parent is like a micromanager, right? It's like,
yeah,
they wonder why kids don't grow into their own.
Well, funny you should mention that, because Dave's put that. Same with teenagers, by the way. I'm not joking. I am applying some of these principles and testing it on my children. So it's absolutely, it works. I'm like, are you reacting or are you responding? Do you need to take some quiet time? So I'm playing it back. And it is so true. You can apply similar things to your parenting as well. So I'm just fascinated.
But even with the awareness, because I got a 13-year-old, even with the awareness, like he'll say something and it's like, hey, you seem frustrated. Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you frustrated with the task you're doing? It's like, what problem are we trying to solve? I understand you're reacting, because reacting and awareness sort of go together. If somebody's reacting, why? Are you frustrated with your own work? Or maybe you haven't slept last night. So it's simple stuff like that.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I love that. So Christy said the vibe tribal authenticity deeply resonates. This is key. 100% agree. I was reluctant to join LinkedIn, but having considered what it means to my authentic self, I could see through a different lens and be more confident in my approach. Christy, that's amazing. Still not a fan of LinkedIn. Personally, I've found other places, platforms to thrive, but that's fine. Depends where your tribe's hanging out. So, but that's okay. But how cool is that? So if you can really center yourself around your authentic self, it makes your content more relatable, it comes from a place of confidence. I just think there's a brilliant link here.
Let's ask Christy to put 3 words in the chat that describe her.
Oh yeah. Oh, go on then, Christy.
And everybody on the chat, if you want to, it would be great to see 3 words that describe you. And it takes courage to put that. It takes courage to put that in. So we'll see what comes up.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of a delay on the chat, so they'll put it in a second. But yeah, 3 words. It's a bit of a challenge for Michael. So 3 words that describe you. Pop it in the chat.
What are yours? What are yours, Sarah?
I knew you were going to say that. 3 words to describe me. Oh, look, I'm going to deflect that. Loyal, conscious, determined. Yeah. Oh, I think curious. That would be one. Am I overthinking this? But I do like to be put on the spot. Yeah, definitely curious. Learning. I don't know what the word is for that, but I love learning. I love learning. An adventure. I love adventures. If I'm not on an adventure, I'm bored. So, but I don't know if that's. Oh, there's some great ones here. Enthusiastic, loyal, friendly, curious, humble, trustworthy, innovative, human-centered, geek. Fantastic.
Cool.
What about you, Michael?
I would say growth. I always like, I'll put like introspective growth. I'm always like, looking at myself and what can I do? Independent or entrepreneurial. Like I'm making like 8 words now, like entrepreneurial. I'm very entrepreneurial and focused. I can get really, really focused on stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to be more focused, I think.
I like you the way you are, Sarah. I don't think you should be more focused. I think you should be just the way you are.
Henry. Hello, Henry. Have you read the book as well? Brilliant. So, Henry, love the book, Michael. I've been using the self-worth achievements in security graph to explain male issues for International Men's Day. But I've been struggling to pitch the intrapersonal journey to particularly blue-collar workforces. Any tips?
Yeah, Henry. First of all, I love the fact that you're getting all getting this out there to, and you seem like somebody who really helps a lot of people. So, that's awesome. Whenever you need to pitch something to anybody else, focus on what their experience is, what their, pain is, what they're going through, their problems, and and almost don't get too caught up in the tools. Really meet them where they're at. So, whatever their issues are, talk about their issues, and then maybe talk about some successes or something. And don't get too caught up in trying to explain the method. Just get them bought in that they want the solution, and then by the way, this is the solution. It's like when you go to a doctor doesn't talk about what's in the pills that he's going to get, she's going to give you, or whatever it is. They're really focused on what the problem is, and then, well, we know what health looks like. That's that. But if you're pitching to people, talk about where they're at now, where they want to go, and focus on that. And then secondarily is the method to get them there.
And the method, therefore, is the frameworks, is the models, but they don't need to know that. You just need to guide them through it, is what I'm hearing, right, Michael? Is that?
Yeah. Get them let them know that you truly understand their predicament, and that's really what they want to know, is be helped by somebody who truly sees them and understands them.
Yeah, great. And every time you explain this, it makes me realize that this is so applicable to not just people managers, right? Or company owners. This is parents, and this is how you parent. This is how you work with friends. And I just think it's there are so many principles that could cross over. Great question, Henry. Thank you very much. So I've got a few other questions here, because there was some content here about resilience and agility, and I'm curious to see how that plays into successful leadership, because quite a few leaders, a lot of people over the last few years, we've had a lot of events go on in the world, which has created redundancies. It's created war. It's created unsettlement. The cost of living pressures. So what role do you see in terms of resilience and agility playing in successful leadership, and how can leaders almost like thrive with these traits in uncertain times?
Yeah, I get it, Sarah. And that's a great question. And I bring things back because resilience and agility, again, when you truly work on yourself, then you're more agile and resilient, because the better your relationship with yourself, the better you know yourself, the better you like yourself, the better you trust yourself, is the core to true resilience. I mean, you can read a blog on the top 10 ways to have more resilience and, do whatever they say, but a better thing to do is really to work on that relationship with yourself, because that's going to be like the rock solid, true, natural resilience. You're going to be able to take changes. You're going to be able to take, hard times, etc., because you know yourself, you trust yourself, you have confidence in yourself and your abilities. To me, that's true resilience. When it comes to agility, we have to realize that as humans, we're programmed to resist change, because change is and I talk a lot about why we're wired this way, because of 20,000 years of wiring, etc. The body is meant to keep itself, and we're wired to keep ourselves safe, and any amount of change is a threat to that. And so anytime there's change, part of us naturally want to go no, because I like it right where I am, because I know that I'm safe. And so if you know that, part of you is going to resist change, part of your team's going to resist change, you look at it a bit differently. And then when you realize as a leader, and I find that the leaders and the organizations that make themselves change enabled, And there's a lot of things you can do around that. Are the ones that are thriving, especially when AI is coming in, because the faster things move technologically and with everything else, the more agile. University of Glasgow and I did a meta-analysis during the pandemic, and we found out that the companies that made it through the pandemic, or any chaos, any chaotic event like that, are the ones that had more agility and the ability to change quicker. And so you as a leader, just remember that your people, when you have to manage change, that is not natural or comfortable for people. So you need to manage, you need extra special care. Don't just be like, we're going to change this, and think there's no repercussions to the culture, to their mental health, to their engagement, to everything else.
Yeah. So a couple of things that came into my mind there about change, actually, because I just wrote a blog about change and about adapting to change and thriving actually in change, partly because of this and partly because of experiences over the last year. So being change enabled is quite good, actually, being ready, but also understanding yourself, knowing that you're going to be resilient, that you're going to resent it a little bit. So be ready for it. But I just think that's quite interesting because change is not going to go away. It's going to stay. So you have to learn to play your strengths to it and make the most out of it and see the opportunity from it. And yeah, I think that's quite an interesting approach. I wrote a blog, but I read something actually. There's an Edelman Trust Barometer workplace trust that came out last week. And it's a new report from Edelman, and it talks about trust in the workplace, and it talks about change and employees not, lower down the hierarchy, if you like, that don't really feel comfortable with change. It brings uncertainty. It brings, resentment a little bit. But how can you create an optimistic workforce? Because when your workforce is optimistic, they're more loyal. They're likely to stay. They're more likely to advocate. There's even data in there about posting on social media and positively talking about their employer. So managing this change as a leader within the company. Oh, thanks, Donna. And is that the one? Oh, that was my blog. But my post today is more about the change, that how you can manage change and create an optimistic workforce and the impact that can have on the business. It's incredible. You see, I'm fascinated by things like that. So now, Mike, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the topic of AI. You've already mentioned it a couple of times. So in your experience of working with high growth companies, how do you see AI being integrated into leadership and leadership strategies and how leaders are evolving using AI? How do you see a connection there?
Well, I tell you what I did is this, as AI came in around, I think around the beginning of this year, a lot of my clients started asking me, how does this affect us as leaders? So what I did is I went back and I did a big study. I studied, I think I had 300 people, whether I talked to them, they filled out some questionnaires. I compiled all the information, partly with AI. And I actually did, I'll tell you what, everybody, I have a briefing. I did a 1-hour briefing on the results, and I have a white paper and an infographic. And if you connect to me on LinkedIn and you send me a note that I say, I saw you on Sarah's, wherever you're seeing me, seeing us.
Podcast, whatever.
Yeah, it's R. Michael Anderson. So you connect me on LinkedIn and say, hey, drop me the AI stuff. I'll send you that. But it's about what leaders need to do to be successful leaders in this age of AI. And there are things you need to do structurally. There are things you need to do communication wise. There's things you need to do as a leader, because you don't want to give, there's certain things that you want to have AI do and certain things you don't want to have AI do. And if you start to take out the humanness, especially now that talent, especially in a lot of technology companies and high growth companies, is such at a premium that people are it's going to affect your culture. It's going to affect your recruiting. It's going to affect your retention. So you really need to make sure as a leader that you are addressing this. And also it's going to bring out the best of you as a leader, because there's a lot of people that are like, maybe a VP of marketing or a CFO that are really good finance people, really good marketing people, but honestly aren't that great of people leaders. But AI is going to take some of that nuts and bolts off of them. So they're going to need to be more people leaders because there's AI is going to be doing more of the marketing or the finance. So it's really going to have people need people to step up
Oh.
because leadership is one of the few things that's not going to be really affected, massively displaced by AI.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that makes complete sense. So actually people are going to have to lean into this skill set even more. They're going to have to get even more closer to who they are, what their style, who they are as people, their authentic self. Because AI will eventually, well, will take some of the other stuff, the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, motivating a team, inspiring a team, creating the culture that's gonna
Yeah.
that that's the value that we're going to bring as leaders, holding people accountable, creating a high performing team.
Yeah.
It's not as much about the finance or the marketing anymore. It's about
Yeah.
really you getting the most out of your people.
Yeah. This honestly, this is I knew this was gonna be a good chat. Oh, there we go. Strong actually, I've just gonna ask you that, but I was gonna wrap it up, but I think that so more human skills then, so like strong emotional intelligence. Is that what you're thinking then? Is that
Yeah, more human skills, but it's the true leadership. And again, it's not the management.
Mm,
We could probably talk about the difference between management and leadership. To me, management is about like managing a project, a bit very task oriented. That
yeah.
is things that AI is great at. But leadership, knowing which one of your employees are going through a tough time or can take on more work or that you can grow them to the next level. Again, creating that culture, creating the motivation and inspiration. What's the purpose? What's the vision? All those things that leaders really should be doing, but often aren't, having
Mhm.
difficult conversations, really making sure people are in the place that they can thrive. That's what the leaders need to be doing.
Yeah. No, you I could almost tell the chapters as you were going through them then, having difficult conversation, strategic decision making. Yeah, I've got the thing I love about this book, and I'm going to wrap it up now, and I'm not on commission, guys, so please don't think I am, but the chapters are quite short, the exercises are quite achievable. And you just like you can see my cats started chewing through some of the my little bookmarks, but it's it is a really, really good way. And I think not just for business leaders, not just for people managers, but for anybody who wants to get a bit more introspection about who they are as a leader. And don't mistake leader being people manager, because it's not the same. So I think it's a great thing. And I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you for all of your interaction on the chat, and all of you having your own little conversation as well. You're welcome. I know I love bringing the community together and learning. And if you're listening on the podcast, we always run these every couple of weeks. So you're welcome to come to the next one. And we've got Sally. I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Sally Jacobs from Click is going to be joining us, and she's going to be talking about connecting the dots between social selling and advocacy and that sort of thing. But to start with, I want to thank everybody who's been commenting and joining us and sharing your insights and being part of this. And also to you, Michael, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your experience and knowledge so candidly. I appreciate it. So
A real pleasure, Sarah. And just I hope all the leaders out there get a little bit of value from this to make them a more powerful leader and just bring more positivity into the world.
fantastic. Thank you. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks once again. Thank you.